Sir, I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now the previous session just we have ended.
Okay. Just
So
no
after
issue.
5-10 minutes.
Okay. No issue. Right.
Yes, now presentation is visible, sir.
Yes. Hello. Yes. वो भी चलेगा मैं दूसरा कल में यूनिवर्सिटी जाने की बात हो रही थी तो यूनिवर्सिटी करें तो तुम्हारी जो दिल का खराब हो गया ना आया है वो नहीं तो बड़ा खोल रही थी आया है गाड़ी आई मैं इसीलिए तो मेरे को हाथ धोने भागा मैं कर दूंगी
So after 2-3 minutes we will start, sir.
Yeah, no issue. आने दो और थोड़े से 5-10 मिनट और 5 मिनट और हो सकते हैं. 5 minutes we can again. हाँ, कोई आना नहीं. Hello, I think so. Let us, we can start. So people will join slowly. Right? So, Namaskar. From last Monday, I think so onward, all people are listening to various experts and that to be on to the archivist design. My subject is of course archivist design, but slightly different than the what the people they talk about. They are the because they have the flavor of RCC, and probably nobody must have talked about the flavor of the steel. So we are talking on the flavor of the steel design. So probably it may look to be a some new for them, but it's not new. Everything is the principle remains same. Only thing is that the material go on changing depending on the type of structures we use. So in the last Wednesday class, we have I have introduced you about the material, their behavior under various conditions, and then the mechanism process of collapse, for which the analysis method is the plastic method of analysis, and the what way we should proceed to get the best value of shear force bending moment to design the structure to become a earthquake resistant. Okay, so this earthquake resistant structure should have what are the other requirements for this particular structures. We'll see today now here. Now, 1893, 2016 is applicable all along the our study, and our basic aim to calculate the base shear, for which we need the seismic mass and the horizontal acceleration spectrum, and based on this parameter we need the spectra, time period, soil condition, importance of the building, and response reduction factor. Response reduction factor is to scale down the lateral force. Otherwise, if you solve for the actual lateral force, if you do not scale down this, then you need a very large size. So we work out the R, and so many people have talked about the R. I will not touch more on towards the this value of R. Okay, so this is the simple best method to calculate the seismic force on the buildings, that is seismic coefficient. Now, along with the value of R given in 1893, there is one more table given for R in IS 800/2007, section 12. 800 to 1984 doesn't contains about the earthquake resistant design, but the 2007 edition has introduced the earthquake resistant design for steel members, and the section 12 is give the details guidelines. So under section 12, say table 23 give you response reduction factor for the building, and for which has been classified mainly into, that is brace frame and moment resisting frame, and base frame again classified to A, B, C, and moment resisting classified to A and B. So which will have we'll see in few further slides. Okay, they have been classified according to their configurations, and then the value of R has been calculated. So we have to read the value of R at par along with the 1893. Then the response of the due to earthquake force is the maximum for the following with the combination of forces acting in the main direction, then subsequent two parallel direction, two perpendicular direction, and then their 30% contribution, and then accordingly we have to take the forces on them. So this is what as usual procedure of 1893. Then loads and load combinations. The table 4 of IS 800/2007 is given a general load combinations for dead load, imposed load, crane load, earthquake load, wind load, with considering leading load and accompanying load. Now, yesterday I talked about the action, permanent action, variable action, and accidental action. In permanent action, first column, dead load. That's why yesterday details are necessary. First column, that is permanent action. Variable action, second and third. This is variable action. Okay. AL is accidental load. So this is 1 and 2. This is the variable action, and third is the accidental action. This is third. This one, 6th number. Now these two columns, which 3, 4, it is written here. Wind and earthquake is separate. That is number 5. But here there are two columns. Imposed load mentioned as leading and accompanying. One has to be leader, all other people are accompanying them. So as professor has organized the course, he is a coordinator, but other people they are helping. They are all accompanying people, are co-coordinators like this, what we can say. So in our technical language, how to identify leading and accompanying? I'll tell you two very simple things. There are two imposed load. let us say one imposed load because of the floor load and one imposed load because of the crane. Out of these two load, whichever creating the highest bending moment as an individual. Out of these two load, whichever is creating highest bending moment as an individual will be known as leading load, and the other becomes accompanying. So the definition of lead and accompany has to be followed in this particular format. So apart from this, there are two more load combinations I mentioned here, A and B. They are applicable as per the case may be mentioned in the code. They are applicable as per the code at 4 places. I have not mentioned in this slide, but I can open the code and can tell you they are applicable at 4 places. Section 12, that they are applicable at 12.5.11, 12.7.31, 12.11.22, and 12. So they are applicable at 4 places. At 4 places, this load combination over and above this combination has to be exercised. Okay, so whatever you check as a regular over and above for that particular 4 places, you should also exercise this load combination which is mentioned in our section 12.2 of load and load combination of section 12. Okay, so what is it? 1.2 dead load, 0.5 live load. Live load is taken as less, and 2.5 times earthquake load means as like you can see that maybe some our other people have discussed the soft story and the parking floor, where this parking floor columns are to be designed for higher forces. Okay, so here these are the for a very special places where this is to be taken for 2.5. So be careful that you must take this load combination for at a respective places at four places where this 2.5 earthquake force to be considered. Okay. Second, then when there is no live load, the word live load in errata has come out as imposed load, and you should read live load is equal to imposed load at all places. Okay. So this is what the first. Second was the 90% of dead load and plus minus 2.5% earthquake load. That also that means when there is no occupancy of the building, and it may happen that this earthquake force comes, and then you can have that combination. So we have to read these two also. Then some special requirement out of that four which I mentioned to be read for the this clause. For this clause A and B, table 4 along with table 4. I just discussed one here. When the special requirement of column, when PR divided by PD greater than 0.4. Okay, yeah, yesterday I spoke one thing, the effect of axial force on plastic movement. But I said yesterday that P is the actual force and Py is the yield force. Should be less than 0.15, then effect of axial force not to be greater. So here, the case is that the PR is the required compressive force, that is the actual force, and PD is design capacity. That's per the clause number 7.12. So what the clause number 7.12 says that PD is equal to AE into FCD. Okay, FCD to be calculated by using Perry-Robertson equation if it is concentric, and then again Perry-Robertson equation with another formula for calculating the lambda I for eccentric columns. Okay, so PD to be calculated for 7.12. 7.12 is nothing but the that is for the calculation of a capacity of the column under compression. Right. So PR upon PD is greater than 0.4 means very high axial force. If you are 40% of design capacity, if 40% of design capacity, if the column carries the force, then the required axial compressive and axial tensile strength in the absence of applied moment shall be applied as per the load combination mentioned and A and B. That means to be checked for the combination A and B. Now, then they require axial compressive and axial tensile force and absence of movement. That time movement not to be considered. And maximum load transfer to column should not be greater than 1.2 times nominal strength of connective beam or brace element or resistance of foundation at to uplift. Okay, so nominal strength of connective beam. So there is a column in which there is a connecting beam. So you have to calculate the ZP, for that is ZP, and from that section you have to calculate the action capacity, that is 1.2 times, or force in brace member or foundation which create a tension. Then one more requirement, area of flange splashes shall be greater than 20% of the actual area. Okay, this is on 1, 2, 3, 4. I am just talking about the only a special requirement of column. Okay, so now in normal cases, in general structures, we provide space, whatever the cross section is, same area of the space splices and metal ends. In bridges, 5% excess, but in the for earthquake resistance, 20% of excess of the more area. Now story drift as per the 1893. So there is no change in the story drift. But I'm just adding one more thing, as is mentioned in code, story drift or deflection as per the code. Story drift for horizontal force, and the deflection for normally for gravity load. The limits have been mentioned, but you can also use in engineering sense that story drift, if it is allowed as per the code, or deflection allowed as per the code, but should not create the fear in the mind of the user. You know, as an engineer, as a design engineer, a design consultant, that a beam of 50 meter span can deflect L by 250. You just calculate 50 meter span divided by 250, 200 millimeter. Okay, if it deflects 200 millimeter, what will happen to the flooring? What will happen to the room? It will become a saucer. So there will be always a fear in the mind. So you have to be read this clause as per the human psychology. Okay. Now next. Okay. So this is in short. I had just put it as starting part of the code of the section 12. The relevant clause of the building frames will come later on along with the building frames. Okay. Then the important part is ductility. If this is not there, then inelastic rotation is another problem. So we'll what about ductility in tune with steel structures. Ductility in tune with RC structures may have slightly different, or in tune with the composite structures may be different. But we are talking the ductility in tune with the steel structure. It is the capacity to undergo high plastic deformation in some predefined location, offer its initial yield without any significant reduction in ultimate strength, or ensuring a protection against structural collapse during severe earthquake. It should allow a proper high plastic deformation at defined location at initial yield. Means I'll clubbing three things here at a one time. Initial yield means formation of plastic hinge. High rotation means section classification. If the second section classification properly taken and the plastic hinge that location form means it goes, the member goes in yielding with high rotation, then you will get you a good ductility. And you get the capacity as MD is equal to beta B into ZP into Fy upon gamma. That is the ultimate capacity. And the structure is not going to collapse under that condition. So this is what a combination of definition, reading along with the details of the structures. Okay. Now types of ductility. There are five types of ductility: material ductility, cross-section ductility, member ductility, structure ductility, and energy ductility. Every parameter here mentioned needs prerequisite. We should have good knowledge of strength of material. We should have good knowledge of classification of cross section. Means lateral torsional buckling, buckling of plates and buckling of members. Okay, you should have the knowledge of structural analysis, how structural analysis can be done, and then strain energy. So many things are required for these all five parameters. So we'll talk what material ductility is called as. It is also called as deformation ductility. Characterizes the material plastic deformation for different loading types. Means if material is good, but the problem which we have in the in concrete is that is of the ductility of material property. It is not ductile, but our steel is ductile material. So here, if the good material is used, so I am of the opinion, though code says that code has restricted in some places the grade of steel, but in some places it is allowed. But major cases you must go for the mild steel. If you go for the mild steel, I am sure you will get a good ductility of material. Right? So that is what the a general experience I am putting here. Now, second cross-section ductility, that is curvature ductility. Plastic deformation of the cross-section, interaction between parts composing of the cross-section. So B by T ratio, D by T ratio, that is the cross-section ductility. Classifications: plastic, compact, semi-compact, and cylinder. So if they will taken into care, then you will get a good movement curvature relationship. That's why it is mentioned as curvature ductility, because movement curvature relationship depends upon the cross-section's property. That's why plastic deformation of cross-section is the interaction between the parts composing of the cross-section. It may happen in case of the rolled section. Classification is not a difficult task because all classifications of rolled sections are as per the IS code. But in case of plate girders, which where we joining three plates, two flange, one wave, it may happen that flange and wave may not be of same classification. So we have to generate about the interaction, and here there are certain assumptions mentioned also in our code, in our theory, that how to behave, take the behavior of this particular section. So be ready to read that part also. Okay. Then member ductility, rotation ductility, where the properties of members are considered, and transverse force versus displacement or rotation. That means when a member rotates, so what happens under the movement curvature relationship? The fixed beam converted into hinge beam, and the hinges are formed at support, and member rotates. Okay, so that rotation is nothing but the member ductility. So that's why transverse force versus displacement of the rotation ductility. That is the property of the member. Then structural ductility. It is also called as overall structural ductility. Global ductility or displacement ductility or kinematic ductility. We calculate here base shear versus roof displacement. So that is the structural ductility. Then the energy ductility, hysteretic ductility, it is also called as hysteric ductility. Consider at the level of dissipated seismic energy. How much energy required? So we have to use strain energy method to calculate the energy required for complete collapse of the structures. Then correlation among these ductility exists. That cross section plus material is equal to member ductility. Member plus structural ductility is equal to energy ductility. Okay, so this is the correlation between amongst the all ductility. You can see here the diagram. I showed you the material ductility. cross-section ductility, then member ductility, structural ductility, and energy ductility. It is from the Mesolary book. Then about the calculation of the response reduction factor, we calculate the strength reduction factor or ductility reduction factor, and based on this behavior for force versus time, that is the maximum in the spectrum, then actual spectrum and design spectrum for a single degree mass, and we calculate the response reduction factor based on the overstrength factor. So lot of things already must have discussed on response reduction factor. So I'll just browsing this all, and then I'm coming to the overstrength factor. That it is an inherent property of the well-designed detailed structures, and this factor is defined as Fy upon Fd. That is yield force divided by design force. And the response reduction factor is defined as ductility reduction factor multiplied by overstrength factor, and that depends upon the redundancy, stress, overstrength. Okay, so that response reduction factor is equal to ductility reduction factor multiplied by overstrength factor. For us, the overstrength factor is very important. And what are the contribution to overstrength? Because this change, if this change, R will change, naturally force will come. The force will be less. So contribution to overstrength equal to load factor for the loads. Okay, so what are the contributions to overstrength factor? Combination of load factor, if you see in table, I will go to table. There are values are 1.5, 1.5, 1.05, 1.2 with the combination of 0.6 and 1.2 for the dead load or for the wind or earthquake. We cannot predict at what time and what condition the earthquake will occur. So that particular time, whatever the condition of the structures subjected to the load will be the key factor for generation of R at that time. So load factor that will contribute toward the overstrength. Material factor is also will contribute to overstrength. No, I have tested around more than 10,000 samples of structural steel in the form of plates drawn from the angle channel I section R from the normal plates. Whenever we do testing at laboratory, we never get the value exactly to E250. We get around 275, 260, 280, 290, 252, 255. Means always we get a higher values. And we consider in design as 250. So this is what the additional one difference of this, which is already available here, that act as a load material factor. Plus residual stresses, which is already logged, which is not being accounted in design, they also contribute to overstrength. Then member sizes, positive tolerance, negative tolerance. Negative tolerance is a problem. Positive tolerance, you are improving the sectional property, cross-section area Z, moment of inertia. So naturally the contribution to overstrength increases. Now special ductile detailing. I heard that 1390, one more part is under preparation, and for the steel structure, so it is going to come very soon. So wherein there are special ductile detailing going to come. So if you go special ductile detailing at joints, at splices, Now joints means not only beam column joint or beam to beam joint or column to column joint, also in splices. That will also help in pore strength of the member. Then redundancy, that means the possibility of number of hinges required for collapse and possible formation of hinge more than required for collapse will be added to redundancy, and therefore that also will help. Then strain hardening, delay in strain hardening will also add to the strength. Then higher material strength under cyclic loading, because under cyclic loading the material strength loses. If there is a high strength we develop under cyclic loading, that also will help. And the strength due to non-structural member, that is the window frame, ventilators, fittings of tube, electric fittings, some other non-structural member in the buildings like sanitary pipeline, water pipelines, they may also contribute towards the ore strength. So these are all the additional five parameters that help for the ore strength. Now the performance design. Promotion based on performance. Annual promotion report, appraisal form. What to be the every institute you find that people used to write down their performance report. So here also we are talking about the performance based design, SISP design, consisting of selection of design criteria and structure systems such that at the specified level of ground motion and with defined level of reliability, the structure will not damage beyond certain limit states or other useful limits. Capacity design, we calculate capacity. If we will go for the performance based design, of course capacity is the inbuilt part. So building shall be capable of achieving the following performance objective: shall resist minor earthquake without significant damage, shall resist moderate earthquake without repairable damage, and major earthquake without collapse. That is the our objective. So which can be represented like this. That is story deflection versus lateral force. What are our performance level? Non-structural member will fail, structural member will go up to near to collapse, and the okay. So it involves falling at selection of performance objective, design criteria, ground motion, conceptual overall system design, and suitable structure analysis method. In absence of the proper information, sometimes the earthquake analysis becomes difficult and it is somewhat approximate. If you have given the correct information and use correct method of analysis and design, you will get a best performance structures. Okay, so what are the performance levels now? For non-seismic means structure under gravity load, there are two performance: strength and rigidity. And for seismic buildings, strength, rigidity, and ductility. Three performance levels. Over and above, one more inbuilt performance level, that is stability. Means you have to be check stability along with all this, maybe a non-seismic or maybe seismic. So based on this, there are three structural demands: serviceability, damageability, and survivability. So serviceability means rigidity, damageability means strength, and survivability means ductility. So limit state of strength, limit state of serviceability, and the another limit is now ductility. So how the serviceability is obtained? Elastic method of analysis. So here all your load factor or partial safety factor will be 1, and we check based on, I should add one more thing here, along with story drift, the gravity deflections. We are talking about only lateral movement, but there has to be also the along with that, there should be the beam deflection also. So therefore, the elastic method of analysis to be used. In all possibility of serviceability, only elastic method of analysis has to be used because we calculate the equation for elastic curve. That's why elastic method analysis. And for strain, plastic method analysis, here cross section capacity is important. That is TD. TD is equal to tension in design tension capacity based on three parameters: cross heading, net rupture, and block shear failure. Then PD, that is design capacity in compression based on the compression capacity or based on the lateral buckling with using period-upward equation. Then we go for beam, that is for the beam capacity MD is equal to PD into PD, which is MD is equal to beta B into ZP into FBD. That depends upon lateral torsion buckling of the beam. Again, cross section classification is a part of that. So that's why that is a total damage. So section number 3 onward to 9 will be lead for the middle part, and along with the section 1, 2 for the society, the first part. So these two parts of this particular slide are nothing but your use of IS 800. So you must read IS 800 for 1 and 2. Okay. Then calculation of ductility, kinetic method of analysis. Virtual order. Burden by the load is equal to energy absorbed by the plastic edge, and we calculate the rotation capacity, that is deflection at collapse and rotation of the structure. There is a method given for calculation of deflection. I think so. The strain energy or conjugate method, you can use it for calculating deflection. Also, deflection also can be used for the rotation capacity or deflection. So this new approach in the structural design under seismic load is known as capacity design concept. So this capacity design concept has the three criteria: rigidity design criteria, strength design criteria, and ductility design criteria. So what it says that to maintain the rigidity design criteria, to maintain the architectural integrity for moderate earthquake and avoid dangerous damage of non-structural element during severe earthquake. To limit structural damage and increase the instability phenomena due to second order effect. Yes, when there is a lateral movement, P delta effect will increase. There is second order effect, and it creates instability in the member. To avoid human discomfort under minor or even occasional moderate earthquake, I just discussed earlier also, you should not create the fear. Therefore, you should have the proper rigidity so that you can maintain the serviceability condition, and the availability should be greater than equal to the requirement. That is what the requirement. Now, requirement is based on earthquake type, structural type, or elastic spectrum. Availability depends upon deformation limits of non-structural element or isolation of non-structural element from building structures. For example, the facade or fascia of the building can be isolated from the main building so that the during shaking this facade will not collapse. Because if the facade collapse from the, let us say, building of 16 story, then it will fall at the ground. Then definitely there will be some casualty in case of somebody standing there. So therefore, the facade design has to be done. Now, one more information I am adding to you all. There is a draft code under circulation for the facade design for wind forces. We find that now in I think so in month of August, you must have seen one facade collapse in Mumbai because of very strong wind during rainy season. So facade has to be designed now with the proper wind force acting on the member. Then the strength design criteria: buildings that accept structural damage in the event of severe earthquake, ground motion, are likely to experience significant elastic excursion. design the building to maintain the structure in elastic range. So I have told the method which I just discussed, the available strength should be greater than equal to required. So calculate the proper load partial safety factor, find out the action. Based on action, the required movements, shear force and axial force, and then calculate the capacities. So again, required earthquake type, structural type, and design spectrum, and available strength depends upon randomness of yield stress, increase of cross-section dimension, hardening effect, movement distribution, effect of strain rate, cumulative plastic deformation. Many of things are repeating. Already we are discussing overstrength, or sometime yesterday also in the based on the properties of the material. So that is also contributing towards the strength, because randomness of yield stress, middle point, lower point generated in the member, and that randomness may change, because day 1 earthquake and day 39 earthquake or day 65 earthquake, the yield point may change. So that will change the randomness. The tolerances of the cross section, delay of hardening effect, movement redistribution. What is the limit of movement redistribution? 30%. Where it is mentioned? In 456. How it is defined? Let us take a beam with uniform distributed load with fixed end, and if you draw the bending diagram, bending moment supports W square by 12, at center W square by 24. After plastic collapse, the bending moment at center is W square by 16, and at support also W square by 16. At plastic collapse, the bending moment at all the points where hinge forms becomes uniform. So there is a redistribution of moment. So if you calculate W square by 12 minus W square by 16, it is 25%. So that is movement distribution and effect of strain rate. The word I have to repeat again, same. The rate of load, lateral loading will define the strain rate, and cumulative plastic deformation. Whether the hinges which are having the same or nearby value of movement, it may happen that they will form very fast. Right? So ductile design criteria. It's a capacity to undergo high plastic deformation in some predefined location. Offer initial strength. The definition remains same as what I had talked earlier. And the criteria says that available ductility should be greater than the required ductility. So required depends upon maximum possible earthquake, foundation, structural type, and mechanism structures, and available depends upon material, cross section, member, joint, and connection. Each word in all criteria has a lot of connotations and meanings. So required ductility, okay, so therefore everything has to be interconnected. They are all interconnected to each other. So required ductility is obtained from global behavior of the structures, and available ductility is obtained from local elastic deformation. So now, what is the global ductility? Defined at the level of whole structure. Mu d is equal to delta U upon delta Y. Delta U and delta Y are the elastic plastic or top sway displacement. This may be also called as overall structure stability, and local ductility is equal to determined at a level of structure, which is mu p, or that is theta p upon theta y. So theta p and theta y are the plastic and yield rotation of the plastic hinge respectively. Now this local and global you can calculate during analysis till collapse. So this is what the ductility characteristic. Delta and theta. This you can calculate. So this is delta and this is theta, which you can calculate. Now this ductility depends upon ground motion, their source, distance from the source, site, then again source में earthquake type or focal distance, in structural response, foundation, structure system, then foundation type of foundation, structural collapse mechanism of structure system, and behavior of non-structural element. So this is the measure of available ductility is the measure of W ductility is measured by rotation capacity of the member. It is very difficult to evaluate the great number of factors are influencing the actual behavior of the member. The factors which are influencing the member are material, cross-section, member, joint, panel, and connections. Okay, so they will affect the ductility. Now coming to plastic rotation demand. It is obtained by inelastic response history analysis. Approximate procedure to estimate the plastic rotation demand in a frame is to examine its plastic collapse mechanics at the point of maximum drift. If a frame sway as per the mechanism shown, then the maximum plastic hinge rotation in the beam can be estimated as delta E upon H, where delta is the inelastic interstory drift and H is story height. Inelastic interstory drift are approximated to those won by using lateral force, and plastic rotation demand is approximately 0.02. So this is the baseline of our section 12. That plastic rotation demand is approximately 0.02 radian. Okay, so the philosophy is for earthquake design is that amount of damage to be kept as minimum, suitable size and member size and members to be provided, and the four virtue has to be obtained. That the four virtue will be the strength, stiffness, ductility, and configurations. Okay, and for analysis, material property, you should have monotonic and cyclic both, member geometry, and connection. And for connection, you should use flexible connections, flexibility in the connection, strength in connection, and ductility in connection. Now coming to the building frames now. So first is the moment resting frame. Beam and columns with moment resting connections resist lateral force by flexure and shear in beam and column. So MRF only take care of the bending and shear, and both has to share the this flexure and shear. That's why both the members are called as beam column. So develop ductility by flexure yielding of the beam, shear yielding of the column panel zone, and flexure yielding of column. Okay. Advantage: architectural versatility, high ductility and safety. Disadvantage: low elastic stiffness. So this is MRF. You can see one photo of the building of MRF. Understand the control elastic behavior. Choose frame element as fuse that will yield in an earthquake. That is, choose the plastic hinge location. Detail plastic hinge regions to sustain large inelastic rotation prior to the onset of fracture or instability. Design all other frames remain to be stronger than plastic hinge regions. In short, whatever the value of MP at joint, the other part of the member should have capacity slightly higher than the plastic hinge region. This is what the frame. This is the bending diagram. This is the moment and vertical force. This is the hinge location where hinge can form. This is plastic hinge in beams. Plastic hinge column panel zone. This is potential for soft story, plastic hinge in column only, soft story column. That's why the soft story should be designed for higher force. This is the typical beam column connection. Frame must develop large ductility without failure of the beam to column connection. And this is the panel zone. Panel zone subject to high shear yielding and large shear deformation possible. Provide alternate yielding mechanism in a steel member. So this zone is very important. Joint deformation due to panel zone of shear yielding. That's why I told you joint mechanism also. So what our code says, section 12. Withstand elastic deformation corresponding to joint rotation of 0.02 radians. How much time we have? Okay. Withstand elastic deformation corresponding to joint rotation of 0.02 radian without degradation in strength and stiffness. For building seismic zone 3 with importance factor greater than 1, not to be used for seismic zone 4 and 5. Means up to 2 and 3 you can use with importance factor 1. If it is 1.5, then forget. Then connection, rigid and semi-rigid connection, and this clause again, rigid movement connection frame as per the load combination mentioned at 1 and 2. Okay, and for semi-rigid connection, this is another condition. Rotation shall be checked by connection of model given by Farey-Morris. It is given in our section 10 of our 800 that rotation of the section to be checked. He has given the Farey-Morris equation is here and the connection to be checked, and both connections should be checked for the shear equal to 1.2 dead load plus 0.5 live load plus shear due to design moment as per the above. Okay. Now special moment resting frame. In special momenting frame, there is a special detailing at connection. That's why it is called as special momenting resting frame. And this continuity plate is added here, and section is reduced here, so that there should be the beam formation of hinge in beam, not in column. Because the section is reduced here, the hinge will form here only. You can see continuity plate is there, so this becomes a stronger region, and the section is reduced here. This is the axial force generation in a flange of the column. Okay. For one-sided connection, continuity plate thickness shall be at least 1.5 times of the thickness of the beam flange. For two-sided connection, continuity plate thickness shall be equal to thicker of the two beam flange or either sides of the connection. So this is what the requirement of continuity plate. This is the continuity plate here. You can see this is a continuity plate. And for special momenting phrase, the ratio mentioned as for the plastic moment capacity of the column upon plastic moment of the beam should be greater than 1.2. Now what our code says. Code says that only material E250B should be used. Withstand elastic deformation of corresponding to joint rotation of 0.04 radian without degradation in strength and stiffness. Now for ordinary it is 0.02. Now it is allowed as 0.02. Allowed to use in any zone, any building, and beam column sections should be used plastic and compact. Semi-compact is not allowed. And MPBC upon MPB should be greater than 1 point. That is also mentioned here. And connection should be a rigid connection. Okay. Then concertantly brace frame. So required R to be taken from table 23. This is what we consider brace frame. Beam column and braces arranged in the form to form a vertical truss. This lateral force by truss action. Develop ductility through elastic action in braces and in tension. Braces buckle in compression. So 50% of braces are in tension, 50% of braces in compression. So as the case may be, there may be a reversible of forces in the member. So member design as a compression member is always remains safe as a tension member. So advantage, high elastic stiffness. Disadvantage, less ductile than other frames. Reduce architectural versatility. But I don't agree to reduce architectural versatility, but it is good in types of frames. You can see. Single diagonal, inverted V bracing, X bracing, and two-story X bracing. You can see the photos. Now response. If one frame is taken, force is acting. You can see one in tension, another in compression. Now on the other side, one the same which was in compression now in tension, and it is in compression. You can see the photo. So design frames so that elastic delivery is restricted to brace. Braces act as a fuse. Braces are weakest element of the frame. All other frames are stronger than braces. And choose braces member with a good energy dissipation capacity and fracture life. that is limiting KL by ratio and B by T. So our code has given some guidelines for this. For ordinary concentric brace frame, section 12, ordinary concentric brace frame not to be used in seismic zone 4 and 5, and for building with impulse factor greater than 1 in seismic zone 3. Only allow elastic rotation is 0.02. K bracing shall not be used to resist the earthquake forces, and KL by ratio is restricted to 120. And compressive strain should not be greater than of the brace is 0.8 times PD. And tension should be between 30 to 70% of the lateral force of the gross capacity. So that's why the buckling of brace will occur. You can see here in the photograph, the buckling of braces are occur due to earthquake. And brace connection to be designed for 20% more than this tensile capacity. Right? And now special concentric brace frame to withstand the elastic deformation of 0.04, allowed to use in any zone, and diagonal X bracings are applicable to this material of only E250, and again this ratio is 120 of KL by ratio, and cross section shall be plastic, and compensation should not exceed PD, and tension braces shall be raised 30 to 40% of total force, and shall be designed for gross yielding. Gross yielding, net rupture, and block shear. So the braces have to be designed for only gross yielding. Okay, eccentrically brace frame. Okay, so this is what the eccentric brace frame. This eccentric part is act as a link. This is what act as a link. You can see different types of possible arrangements. You can see actual figures. Now you can see this part also detailed. Here also this is detailed. Now its behavior during earthquake, like this. Now energy dissipation. Here energy dissipation in MRF is by hinge formation at joint. Here energy dissipation by buckling of braces, and here dissipation by kink. What the word use? Link. The word use is link. Okay. So this limb act as a fuse. Now another frame. BRB, we are buckling restrained brace frame. This is buckling restrained brace frame. It is other than what we talked to earlier. Nothing is mentioned in our code. Now here it is a there is a casing and there is a steel core. Steel core is being placed a buckling resistant frame, steel core plus bracings, and this core is put inside this bonded with the material and fix this. So steel core resists the entire axial force. Casing is debonded from steel core. Casing does not resist axial force. Flexure straightener casing is strength buckling of the core. So these are the BRB. This is the energy dissipation of the BRB. The types of BRB. This is the BRB. And last is now the special plate shear wall. I'll tell you, all the brace frames, maybe it's concentric, eccentric, or BRB, or the shear wall, they can be used for retrofitting of existing building, maybe RCC, maybe steel. First, I'll just tell you about the shear plate, steel shear plate wall. Like you can see this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay. Now, how to use it this for retrofitting? Let us go here. Let us assume that this entire building is of this is RCC beam, RCC column. So you have to fit this a brace. Not only BRB, any brace you have to fit here. So what has to do? You have to generate a connection here. So connection can be generated by connecting the gusset plate or the insert plate here, which will transfer the force from beam and column to brace, and their composite behavior to be checked. Then you have to model the building with combination of both the material, with compatibility analysis of both the material. Okay, so in brief, I show you a roadmap for the steel frame buildings. These are the, again, same as yesterday I presented about the references, same books I used here. Okay, so friends, I think so it is around 1:15. कितना बचा मालूम नहीं? Khadwe sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Very nice example you have shown with the help of photograph, where we get the actual experience of how that different mechanisms are used in the steel structure.
Yes.
So that will encourage the participants to go for some of the research or some exploration of the more information about it.
Correct. Now, one important thing is that each and every building frame has a one topic. If I take only movement testing frame, then I have to take complete 1 hour only on that, and then we can go with detailed clauses, detailed analysis, and detailed method with example. So my intention that you should know where is what, and how to move it. Naturally, I'm sure that whenever you have just seen a movie, only the trailer of the earthquake of steel. But if you go for the complete picture of the movie, we should have a 1 week complete program on ERD of steel. And
you suggest, and with the other some 2-3 few members, we will definitely go for this earthquake resistant design for steel only.
So we are ourselves. We are thinking. We already have one meeting. Already we have already conducted. Myself, Ratnesh Kumar, and then Ashish Khatri and Manmohan Goyal and other people, Jaiswal sir and Ingray sir. We have already have one discussion on this, and slowly first we are preparing the entire material.
Yes.
And once the material is ready, using this online platform will generate one complete course only on ERD. Will not talk anything about the RCC then.
Yes, sir. It is very nice for that, because now today many industrial and large buildings, they are going for the steel structure or that composite structure also.
Now, see the thing here, I have not covered about the PEB, not covered the composite structures, not covered the any steel industry. That is still left out. That is also left out.
Yes,
because 1893 part 4 for this industrial building, that also has come out.
Yes.
So that also not covered. This is a just a introductory part of today and therefore yesterday lecture, so that people know that yes, this subject also exists.
Yes.
So thank you very much. So I'll close. If questions there, then I can answer.
Yeah, if in chat box, if there are some questions are there, I think no questions. I think
no questions.
Chat box. Yes, one question was there.
Sir, what will be the more effective for comparison eccentric basing whether height variation or नहीं वो example पे बोला उसको बोलना example पे है. It is based on examples. It is all based on examples. You have to take example. You can just find out some live example and then you can go variable. This is what she's asking about. And I think there was only one question. Others are only. Yeah, what is the reason of providing? What is the reason of providing centralization ratio for basic member? to restrict the buckling in at very small forces. That's why if you take KL by ratio as 180, then it will buckle immediately. So that's why they restricted the KL by ratio as 120. How to calculate plastic hinge length? Yes, there is a method given in Baker's book. Calculation of length of plastic hinge. It is given in Baker book. Okay, and then provide eccentricity based joint ends are beneficial or not? Yes, yes, beneficial. Braces joint ends are beneficial. Okay, anything else? Yes, I think so. बाकी नहीं question नहीं है sir. If anybody have while participant, if anybody have any questions, they can write to me on my mail. I can answer them. Huh?
Yes, sir.
I think so. Mainly all our participants are teacher.
No, the 40% are teacher, and then some are ME students
ME
and
students.
PhD scholars.
Okay, okay, good, fine. That is what they are for them. It is very useful.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So should I leave?
Yes, sir. So
thank you.
More questions. Thank you, participants, for being with us and patience listening for this. Again, with the another session, we will again start at 2:30. Now there will be a lunch break, and the next fourth session will be as it is on its time of 2:30, where we will have hands-on with Dr. Khose, sir.
Okay, chalo.
So thank you, sir, for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now, after 2-3 minutes, I will break this meeting here. So then, yes. So I will share that Gupta sir email in next meeting, because I have to just find out from my mail ID, and then I will. Actually, all these sessions will be made available to all the participants for that video recordings. So, but that we are working on that. All the sessions video recordings are now being prepared, and the link of that respective video recording will be shared. So that will be coming to you after last day. So once we prepare our link sheet for all the days and all the sessions of the STTP, then that whole sheet will be shared. So there will be a direct link on that. You can click and you can directly watch all the STTP sessions. So thank you, participants. Here we will stop here again, and after lunch break we will again meet at 2:30 with Dr. Yogesh Khose, sir. उगले सर.
सर बोला ना.
सर आज ठाकूर सरांचा पण सेशन आहे 3:30 वाजता.
अच्छा, म्हणजे कालचा जो सेशन होता
there will be a fifth session today with Dr. Nilesh Singh Thakur sir, and that will be continued after 3:30. So we will have again 10-minute break, and then again we will continue the meeting, and the link of 2:30 will be used for that, and again there will be one session by Thakur sir.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And again tomorrow also we are having one additional guest speaker, that is Dr. Dinesh Harkut. So I will forward you the introduction of Dr. Dinesh Harkut. So we have to keep the PPT also ready for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sure.